Good morning, everyone. My name is Neil Brock. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm honored to serve as a member of the governing board of the First Parish in Concord. Welcome one and all to the worship on this lovely spring day as we continue this month's exploration of the complexities of trust. First Parish is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and love lies at the center of our faith. We gather to grow spiritually and ethically together as we adapt to a changing world. We seek to center and strengthen relationships by honoring our covenant to treat each other with respect and care, especially when disagreement or conflict arises. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we embrace our differences and commonalities with love and goodwill. While we never expect perfection, we do expect that our members will take responsibility for their actions and engage in repair when needed. Welcome to all joining us both in our historic sanctuary and on Zoom. If you are visiting or new to the congregation, we extend warm greetings to you. If you need an assisted listening device or any other assistance during the worship service, please see one of our ushers at the rear of the sanctuary. Soul work materials are available at the entrance to the sanctuary. These small crafts and coloring pages can help people of all ages calm the body and focus the mind. During worship, the parlor downstairs serves as our wiggle room, where young ones can play while the service live streams on a large screen. Zoom participants are invited to stay online after the service for a time of conversation and fellowship. All present in the meeting house are welcome to enjoy coffee hour in the parish hall downstairs. For those who prefer a more intimate space to reflect on today's worship themes, you are invited to the worship sharing circle, also immediately after the service in the Brooks room or by Zoom. As your governing board rep for the morning, I will be available during coffee hour to listen to your concerns, for conversation, and to answer any questions that I can. Please come say hello. Please check out the many announcements inserted in your order of service in the foyer of the sanctuary or outside the office downstairs. There are a couple of them that I would like to highlight. Immediately after the service, there'll be a newcomers meet and greet with Reverend Jennifer and the welcoming committee. Please meet at the front of the sanctuary. Also, I'd like to introduce our new facilities manager, Nigel Watson. And a very warm welcome to you. We've been anticipating your arrival. Nigel will be available in the parlor during coffee hour as well for you to greet him. Also, following the service at 12:30 today, there's a special environmental forum here in the sanctuary and online with State Senator Mike Barrett and Elizabeth Henry, the president of the Environmental League of Massachusetts, and there will be lunch. Please see the FP Weekly for more information about these and many other exciting activities and opportunities to connect and strengthen our community. Welcome once again. To gather in worship is a sacred act, and your presence among us is a blessing. We are glad and grateful that you are here. Please rise in body and spirit to join in singing hymn number 39, Bring, O Morn, Thy Music.
how beautiful you sound this morning. It is so good to be with you. My name is Jennifer Johnson, and I am, as I like to say, so glad and grateful to serve as the lead minister here at First Parish in Concord. Gathered here on the brink of spring and the brink of an uncertain future, let us kindle the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. May its flame inspire us to a practice of trust in the values that bind us in our shared covenant, trust in the constancy of the cycling earth and the turning of the seasons, trust in the love that glows at the center of our faith. Please join in our chalice lighting response. I will begin and invite you to follow with the italicized text. The words are in your order and on the screen. We gather today to hear the call of trust. Though our hearts have been bruised by broken promises and dreams deferred, like this flame, trust is something that needs to be rekindled again and again. Come, let us worship, and let us learn to trust again.
Slave trader. His life serves as a powerful reminder that transformation is possible, that even the darkest of paths can be redeemed through a commitment to love and equity.
Just as Newton found a new path, we too can find our own paths of growth and redemption. When we feel lost, stumble, or doubt, let us remember that we are all works in progress. And that through self-reflection and a commitment to living our values, we can find our way back to wholeness.
Let us embrace the grace of interconnectedness, extend that grace to all beings, and strive to live lives that reflect the principles of justice, equity, and compassion.
May the spirit of amazing grace inspire us to overcome our challenges, to forgive, to love, and to work towards a more just and compassionate world for all.
But
Anderson, I am so grateful for your ministry, and I'm so grateful for your friendship here. And Anderson was the one who inspired me to join the church because we were, it was a orientation for Our Whole Lives, which you are teaching right now to our 5th and 6th graders. And Anderson said, you know, I think it's time for me to join. And I went home and I talked to my spouse about that, and we decided that it was time too. So today you honor us not only by offering your gift of music, as you often do, and your gift of teaching, but by saying yes to become a member of First Parish and also to becoming officially a Unitarian Universalist. I want to invite Liz Russ to come up and witness as a member of our congregation, because really I've only just joined.
Exactly. Well, we welcome you so much to the community that you're already very much a part of, and we open our arms with love for all this work and service that we do together. Thank you. Thank you.
So much goodness, we're just overflowing. And young people, I wanted you to be here to see this moment, so I'm so glad you are here. And we are going off now for religious exploration. Our Whole Lives has already begun, so if you're not there yet, please go head there. And for our little ones, right now we just have the wiggle room. So if parents, if your kids who are preschoolers need a break, there are toys in the wiggle room for them, and you can watch the service live streamed. If you're a kindergarten enough, you can come with me. We're heading up towards the Emerson Room. Let's join together in song.
What a blessing you are to us, Anderson, in all the ways, and by your presence, and by the beautiful singing you bring to us and bring to us through our remarkable youth gospel choir singers. So glad to sign the book in the same year as you, even though you've, preceded me by 2 decades. This morning, another member, Shelley Hawks, will share the gift of a testimonial in service of our ongoing pledge campaign.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about why I love First Parish. When my husband, Jim Hawks, and I moved to Concord in 2000 with our 2 sons, Sam and Johnny, First Parish was the natural choice for us because it was the church where Jim had grown up, and he had taught Sunday school here as a young adult. And my mother-in-law, Trainee Hawks, was a longtime member, and Jim's grandfather, Johannes Auer, had been a minister here at First Parish in the 1920s. Now, I was raised in a Presbyterian church in Oklahoma City, but I liked the idea of becoming a UU. It really suited my liberal values. And in those early days, I made strong personal connections with several members, like Petra Betts and Barbara Wheeler and Mary Clark. but it took some time to forge my own roots here. And the turning point came when I faced a crisis at my workplace, and I was feeling very troubled. And so I went to see Reverend Gary Smith. And I went to his office, and I said something like, Gary, I've resigned my position as a college history professor, and until I find my bearings, I'd like to do something for the church. And Gary said, no. He said, this is the time the church takes care of you. And that really touched me. And so I let the church take care of me, so to speak, by joining the choir. Thank you, Beth Norton. And I also joined a First Parish musical production that was led by Tom and Sue Beck. And that was 15 years ago, and it helped me get back on my feet and begin teaching again. And not long after, I attended a meeting for the Transcendentalism Council, led by Victor Curran and Diane Weiss, and also Reverend Jim Sherblum joined us later as a guiding light. And many of us had been inspired by Reverend Jenny Rankin to deepen our knowledge of Emerson, Thoreau, and Fuller as a spiritual path. And our lecture series continues to this day. Ellen Whitney spoke for our group last month, and we have several events planned for April, including a book launch for Jim Sherblum's Concord Stories on April 1st. And about 4 years ago, I joined the team led by Tom Wilson, inspired by Mel Bernstein, to bring new life to the Wright Tavern, the historic building on our First Parish campus, a witness to the American Revolution. And serving on the board of the Wright Tavern has been a great adventure, which I've really enjoyed. And so for these various reasons, I think of First Parish as a sacred place, a shelter in difficult times, but a vibrant home for making friends and enlarging one's spirit. Thank you.
morning. My name is Elizabeth Hyde. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your acting minister of congregational care. Once again, it is time to join one another in prayer and meditation. It is time to turn toward an intentional practice of cultivating deeper trust. We'll begin by taking just a few breaths in and out. Every week, we make time to listen to one another, and many of us have come to count on this space with the reverence of a promise kept, that others will be there when we have something to share, just as we have been there for them. In continuity and in change, our time together brings a steady rhythm, like our heartbeat, like our breath. And so this morning we hold in love Karen Cashian, who had surgery at Mass General in Boston last Tuesday and is resting comfortably at home. She is on Caring Bridge and welcomes cards and emails, but no phone calls, please. May Karen's healing be steady and easeful with the support of her community and friends. We also lift up Beverly Bringle, who passed away peacefully on Wednesday after suffering a stroke in late February and transitioning to hospice with the support of her family and friends. We hold Beverly in our hearts, and may all who mourn be comforted. And may our circle embrace Marie Harkins, sister-in-law of C.C. King. Marie had surgery for breast cancer, and C.C. is with her to support her healing. Well wishes and notes are welcome. May C.C. and Marie be held in the companionable spirit that makes all of us siblings. Let us now breathe in peace and send out love to hold all of the sacred milestones we carry and all who are part of our gathering, including our online space and all of our visitors. It is good to gather. Each of us is holding something today, and so we are all invited to share the names and sacred concerns that matter to you this morning. You can type them into the chat or say them out loud in the space that surrounds you. Let us hold silence for all that has been shared. May our intention of care bring peace to each and all as our prayer and meditation continues. Spirit of life and love, be with us as we recognize this, the 5th anniversary of the first service that was moved online to protect this community during the COVID-19 pandemic. In a world that needs us just as much as we need each other, let us gather the wisdom to face what is hard, to remember what we learned, and to hold on to what is good. And so this morning, together in this room and so many others, we remember the loved ones who took ill and were lost, the fears for our relationships, our reality, and our lives, the struggle for each new normal. We remember so many of the shifts and changes that we chose or accepted. We also remember those tides of injustice that dealt an uneven vulnerability when the choices about which risks to take with our health and well-being were important for all of us and available for some of us. We grieve for the birthdays and holidays spent apart that we can never get back. And we recognize that loneliness is among the many hardships that pre-existed the virus and still is a concern in our community today. And so as we continue to recover and rebuild, let us grow in gratitude and strength as we honor the resilience and the efforts that kept us together. We honor the mask makers, the resource sharers, and the blessing deliverers. We recognize that it will continue to take time to gather some of what was, a lot of what is, and just enough of what could be to move toward the future, remember the past, and love our way whole. Amen.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Paul Langston Daly, your Minister for Social Action, and my pronouns are he and they. At this time in our service, we invite you to give generously to the work of this congregation through our Share the Plate program. March is Women's History Month, and we are grateful to honor the Massachusetts Women's History Center for our monthly Share the Plate for March. The Massachusetts Women's History Center is extremely successful at highlighting women's significant achievements throughout history and inspiring today's women to continue the works vital to our humanity. The Women's Parish Association is a proud member of this organization. The center builds on years of telling stories of the suffragists, sharing stories about the important contributions and challenges endured by Massachusetts women and the major milestones in Massachusetts women's history. You can find a great deal of information about these organizations on their website and through their social media, and we invite you to please enjoy Women's History Month this month. We thank you for your generous contributions and gifts this morning. We are deeply grateful for all that you do to care for those within these walls and beyond these walls.
lovely to have Eric Henneke back with us this morning. The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I know the peace of wild things, but I haven't always. Growing up, I was an inside kind of girl. I played for hours on end in the quiet of my room, sometimes with friends or my little sister Katie, and often all by myself with my dollhouse and my imagination. Recently, I was messing around on Google Maps and pulled up my childhood neighborhood in the town of Stoneham, not far off from here. I was surprised to observe just how vast the expanse of Fells Reservation was that spread out from the southern end of my street. Surprised because I had spent so little time exploring the inner depths of those woodlands during my growing up years. I wasn't explicitly taught to revere the outdoors as a child. Like me, my parents simply tended to default to inside play, chess and card games, music and knitting. It wasn't until I married and moved into a small condominium in a converted mill on the bank of the Charles River in Medway that I became a quick convert to the peace of wild things. I recall what feels in retrospect like a singular moment of conversion. I was walking from my car to the back deck of our unit, which was perched on the edge of that riverbank. As I approached, I was struck, felt surrounded by a dark shadow moving ominously and casting that shadow at my feet. I looked up and immediately caught sight of the pterodactyl-like wings of what I later learned was a great blue heron swooping just feet over my head. My heart skipped, and an electric energy inside and around me filled me. It felt spiritual. It felt like the radiant force field that Lori Van Loon described last Sunday in her moving testimonial about her experiences in this community. I love that phrase, her phrase, a radiant force field. Over the next 5 years, Dave and I spent a lot of time getting to know that stretch of river as we paddled up and down in a hand-me-down canoe. I became attuned to layers of existence that I had never before given much notice. We bought a pair of binoculars and a field guide to northern birds and hung feeders from our deck. We thrilled at rare sightings of playful river otters, wondered at the jewel-like dragonflies flitting on the water's surface, felt a kinship with a pair of nesting cardinals awaiting their new arrivals as we awaited our firstborn. On that short stretch of river, I experienced a mystical sense of belonging to all of creation. It's a sensation that has returned countless times since, whenever I am drawn by that radiant force field into the peace of wild things. where I know myself to belong to the same mysterious source of being that gave rise to me and all other beings that are and have been and ever will be. There I experienced firsthand the grandeur that Charles Darwin describes at the end of The Origins of Species. There is a grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers, having originally breathed into a few forms or into one, and that whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and wonderful, have been and are being evolved. And I am one of them, and so are you. Most of the time, when despair for the world grows in me, an encounter with the source of being as manifested in all the endless, wonderful forms of being around me is enough to restore my soul. I feel myself tethered once again to my place in the grand, if mysterious scheme of things. I am one with all beings, with beingness itself, in all its suffering and all its glory. This source of being is what I think of as my greater power. When the human order of things breaks trust with me, when the world feels pointless, cruel, and inscrutable, I have learned to place my trust in the source of being that gives rise to me and all of creation. And when I do, I come home to the grace of the world. This is enough for me, but it is not for everyone. It may or may not be for you. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we do not adhere to one and only one concept of a greater power. We encourage and celebrate theological pluralism in our spiritual communities. We are atheists and humanists, agnostics, mystics, naturalists, traditional and non-traditional theists, Buddhists and Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and pagans, some of the above, none of the above, than the above. We use diverse language to name the greater powers that orient us as we strive to live in an uncertain world, be it God or goddess, love, creation, creator, spirit, mystery. I started thinking of my greater power as the source of being during my seminary years when I was encouraged to deepen and refine my theological stance. But I came to that phrase, not through academic study, but by reflecting on my own transcendental rambles along woodlands and rivers, over contemplative cups of tea, in deep spiritual dialogue with friends and colleagues. By passing my rambling experiences through the fire of my thought and arriving at the truth as best as I understand it at a given point in time. I'm quite sure my thinking was informed in part, if not fully consciously, by all the reading I was assigned in those years and didn't always rigorously keep up with. In particular, I'm thinking of the 20th century German-American theologian Paul Tillich, who elucidates a concept of the ground of being, which he took from the 13th century mystic Meister Eckhart. He also calls the ground of being itself. I like source of being and beingness, but I don't think they're too far off. For Tillich, these terms are synonymous with God. Ground of being is God. In Tillich's framework, God is actually not a being, but is rather the ground from which all beings spring. This gets kind of heady. I like it. Okay, get this. God is real, but God does not exist. God is real, but God does not exist. Rather, God is the source that gives rise to existence. Tillich's ideas about God and ground of being resonate with my understanding of the source of being. His ground of being is compatible with my naturalist view of creation. I don't experience God as a being, but in the manifestation of beings, I feel a connection to the ground of being, if that makes sense. Interestingly, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote his doctoral dissertation on conceptions of God in the thinking of Tillich and another 20th century American theologian, Henry Nelson Wyman. Ultimately, King takes issue with the depersonalization of God in Tillich's framework. For King, the Christian tenets of God's goodness and love presuppose a personality. Therefore, King insists on the existence of a personal God. God exists for King in fellowship with humankind, providing moral clarity and loving encouragement. I offer these varying points of view, you might say competing points of view on conceptions of God from esteemed liberal theologians because the Unitarian Universalist tradition embraces discourse on theological difference. We're supposed to do this. We're supposed to think about these big questions in different ways and dialogue with each other about them. We don't prescribe one right way of thinking about these ultimate questions. Rather, we invite and encourage each seeker to pursue their own understanding of the deeper meanings and greater powers of existence that help us to live ethically and joyfully in a beautiful and broken world. We encourage this pursuit through intellectual inquiry, spiritual practice, and shared dialogue by coming together, practicing, reflecting, sharing, challenging, and growing on our own and together. Ultimately, I believe that all human souls need to be able to turn to something more than life's quotidian demands and those base impulses that catapult us from one moment to the next, and even the larger societal expectations that shape our daily lives, our communities, and our global world. Because that world has broken trust with us, is breaking trust with us right now. And we will break trust with ourselves and one another again and again. And we will feel lost and hopeless, alone and at sea in a wide universe sometimes. And we will need a truth. We will need a truth that we can trust to hold on to get us through that hard night. We, you, all of us together are here in this holy moment, at least in part, I believe, because we are each and all seekers who quest for the true. What is most true for you at this point on your journey? What name do you give to the answer of your soul's deepest longing? When despair for the world grows in you, to what or to whom do you turn? Where is your still water? What restores your soul? These are holy questions, and so are the answers that rise quickly or slowly from your heart and mind to your lips. In a moment, I'm going to repeat the questions and invite you to take a mindful moment to think and then to respond aloud or silently to yourself as you so desire. If it helps you to focus, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a moment to bring awareness to your embodied presence in the here and now, to the pull of gravity holding you in this place, to the movement of air through your airways, circulating nourishment and vitality to every cell of your body. Notice and release the tension you are holding, perhaps in your shoulders, your jaw, or your chest. And invite that inner teacher to sing. When despair for the world grows in you, to whom or what do you turn? Where is your still water? What restores your soul? What name do you give to the answer of your soul's deepest longing? Let us trust in the silence. Amen. That Which Holds All by the Reverend Nancy Schaefer of blessed memory. Because she wanted everyone to feel included in her prayer, she said right at the beginning several names for the holy. Spirit, she said, Holy One, Mystery, God. But then, thinking these weren't enough ways of addressing that which cannot be fully addressed, she added particularities, saying, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Ancient Holy One, mystery we will not ever fully know, gracious God, and also Spirit of this earth, God of Sarah, Gaia, Thou. And then, tongue loosened, she fell to naming superlatives as well. Most creative one, greatest source, closest hope, even though superlatives for the sacred seemed to her probably redundant. But then she couldn't stop. One who made the stars, she said, although she knew technically a number of those present didn't believe the stars had been made by anyone or thing, but just luckily happened. One who is an entire ocean of compassion, she said, and no one laughed. That which has been present since before the beginning, she said, and the room was silent. Then, although she hadn't imagined it this way, others began to offer names. Peace, said one. One my mother knew, said another. Ancestor, said a third. Wind, rain, breath, said one near the back. Refuge, that which holds all. A child said water. Someone said Kuan Yin. Then womb, witness, great kindness, great eagle, eternal stillness. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she thought would be important to say. And everyone sat hushed until someone said, Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, the first two verses of number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. let us close by giving and receiving our traditional benediction while I extinguish our chalice. Go out into the world in peace. Please be seated and enjoy the postlude. If you are a newcomer who would like to join me and Liz Rust for a meet and greet, we also have the membership book open for signing. We're going to meet right up at the front of the sanctuary up here.